I was never supposed to fall in love with her. In the story, I was the cold, unfeeling husband, heartless, controlling, destined to die at the hands of the male lead. And for 6 long years, I played my role flawlessly. Every cruel word, every icy stare, every moment I crushed her spirit. None of it was real. Not to me, because I remembered who I really was. I wasn't Ethan Lancaster, the cold-hearted CEO created by some bored author. I was me, a man trapped in a fictional world where the woman I was forced to hurt was never meant to be mine. But here's the twist no one wrote. Somewhere between Chapter 5 and her silent tears, I fell for her. And she? She hated me, with every reason to. She flinched at my touch. She avoided my eyes. She prayed every day for the plot to move on, so she could leave me for the so-called true male lead. So I waited. I endured. And then, one day, the story ended. The world collapsed, the script faded, and I woke up. Back in my real world. 6 years gone. Memories of a life that never existed haunting me like scars on my soul. I should have celebrated my freedom. Instead, I found myself searching for her. And just when I'd convinced myself she was just fiction, I saw her, real, breathing, standing right in front of me. Same eyes, same voice, same woman. Except this time, she wasn't my wife. And when our eyes met, she froze. Her lips trembled. Her voice cracked. Because she remembered too. And now, the woman I once wronged in a scripted life. She's panicking. Because I'm not the man she remembers. I'm not playing the cruel husband anymore. And this time, I came back for her. My real name is Aiden Reeves. I was just an ordinary man. No billion-dollar empire, no penthouse view, no tragic past driving my cruelty. Just me, a software engineer with a quiet life, a half-written novel on my desk, and a habit of disappearing into stories when reality got too loud. One night, I passed out at my desk. The next, I woke up inside my own unfinished manuscript. And in that world, I was no longer Aiden. I was Ethan Lancaster, the cold, controlling husband written to torment the heroine until her savior arrived. I was the antagonist of a love story I didn't even remember writing. And the woman fate tied to me? Her name was Liana. She was soft-spoken, elegant, with the kind of beauty that wasn't loud but impossible to ignore. She walked like she didn't want to disturb the world, like she wasn't sure she belonged in it. And from the moment I saw her, I knew I could never be cruel to her. But the story had other plans. Every morning I woke up with a script embedded in my brain. My body moved without my consent, my voice speaking words I didn't choose. I watched myself ruin her again and again, emotionally distant, dismissive, harsh. She tried. God, she tried so hard. She would bring me coffee I never drank. She'd wait for me late at night just to ask how my day was. Sometimes I'd catch her watching me like she was searching for the man she'd hoped I'd be. But I wasn't him, not to her. I was her punishment, her obstacle, her lesson before she found the true male lead. And yet, I started to change. It began with small rebellions, ignoring the urge to insult her, bringing her soup when she was sick, even though the script said to walk away, holding her hand under the table when she was trembling at a gala. Sometimes she noticed. Sometimes she didn't. But I did. And I fell in love with every stolen moment that wasn't written, with every silent smile she gave me when she thought I wasn't watching. But in her eyes, I was still the villain. And I couldn't blame her. Because the moment the male lead entered the story, a golden boy with kindness in his eyes, she lit up in a way she never did for me. And for the first time, I felt real pain. Not from the story, but from myself. Still, I never stood in their way. I had no right to. So I waited for my ending. In Chapter 63, Ethan Lancaster was meant to die. Tragically, poetically, alone. I closed my eyes, ready to disappear. But instead, I woke up. Back in my apartment. Back in my body. My unfinished manuscript still open on my screen. 6 years gone. Like a dream I couldn't shake. Except it wasn't a dream, because just 3 months later, I saw her, in the real world. She looked exactly the same. And in that moment, everything I thought I knew about fiction, fate, and love changed forever. It happened in the most ordinary way. A bookstore. Of all places, it was a quiet little shop tucked between a laundromat and a bakery. I was flipping through the latest thriller, pretending to read, trying to ignore the ghosts in my head. Then I heard it. Her laugh. Software, unmistakable, etched into the deepest corners of my memory. I turned slowly. There she was, Liana. Her hair was longer now. She wore a simple white dress, no makeup, no heels. She looked free. And beside her stood a man. Tall, well-dressed, familiar, too familiar. I stepped back instinctively, heart pounding, not from jealousy, from recognition. He was the same man from the story, the one who replaced me in her life, the one she smiled at like the sun rose for him. In the novel, he was the hero. But here, in the real world, what the hell was he doing with her? They browsed the shelves like any normal couple. She leaned into him, whispered something, and he laughed like they'd shared 1,000 inside jokes. She never looked at me like that. Not in the novel. I stood frozen between mystery and romance, watching a fictional pairing come to life in front of me. But this wasn't fiction. This was real. And they were holding hands like none of it. None of those 6 years ever happened. I should have walked away. But I didn't. Instead, I followed them outside, staying hidden behind a parked car. I needed to be sure. I needed to know if she remembered anything. And then, something happened. He stepped away to take a call. And for just a second, she was alone. I took the chance. Liana! She turned, and her face, it dropped. Not in confusion, not in fear, in shock. Her eyes widened. Her lips parted like she couldn't breathe. Her hands trembled. She remembered every second, every tear, every version of me. Aiden, she whispered. Number you. You're not supposed to be here. I could say the same about him, I said, nodding toward her companion. She took a step back. You shouldn't have come. You're not real. You're not supposed to be real. But I am, I said, voice low, just like you. She stared at me, her whole world clearly unraveling in front of her. And that's when it hit me. She remembered being in the story, too. Not just pieces, all of it. I could see it in her eyes, the hurt, the confusion, the years of pain I tried to shield her from, but never could. And now? Now she was panicking, because I wasn't supposed to follow her out of that world. Because maybe, just maybe, I wasn't the only one who got trapped in a story. Maybe she did too, and if that was true, then everything we knew about fate, about fiction, about our roles, was about to explode. For days, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. The way her breath caught when she saw me. The panic buried beneath her calm exterior. The truth she didn't say out loud. She remembered, just like me. But why was she pretending not to? Why did she walk away like nothing had happened? Like we didn't survive 6 years inside a cruel story, together? I kept replaying that bookstore encounter in my head. The way she said my name. The way her fingers trembled at her sides. the way she clutched the other man's hand just a little tighter afterward. I sat in my apartment, lights off, heart racing, gripping the armrest like it could anchor me to something real. What was happening? Was this fate bleeding into reality? Or was this still part of the story? What if I never actually escaped? The thought made my stomach twist. I knew I was back. The world felt too sharp, too unscripted. The sky didn't shimmer like it used to. Pain didn't fade the way it did in fiction. This was real. And that made it worse. Because now I had to live with what I'd done to her, even if it wasn't really me who did it. I didn't know whether to confront her again, or leave her alone. Let her live this new life with the man she was always supposed to end up with. But that word, supposed, it gnawed at me. Supposed by who? The author? Fate? Some divine narrative thread? Didn't we have the right to choose? One night, I walked by her apartment. Not to stalk her, just to see, just to know she was safe. But then I saw her, standing by her window, alone, looking at the moon like she was trying to find answers in its craters. And for a second, I saw it, that familiar sorrow, the one she used to carry when we were alone in that cold, fictional mansion. I leaned against the wall and whispered to myself, "She's not happy. Even with him, even in this world." Something inside her was still broken, and I knew I was part of that fracture. But maybe I could fix it. I wrote her a letter. No sender name, no details, just words only she would understand. Do you still dream of rain in the greenhouse? Do you remember the broken vase and the soup I never let you finish? I remember. I remember everything I wasn't allowed to say. If you do too, meet me where the stars first felt real. It was a line from the story. A night I added myself, breaking the script, sneaking her away from the mansion to a hillside just outside the city. A quiet place with nothing but sky and silence. The first time she smiled without fear. I didn't expect her to come. But I went anyway, and I waited. For minutes, then an hour. Then, footsteps. I turned. There she was, wearing the same expression she had when I first gave her a flower in that fake world, like she didn't know whether to run or forgive. "You remembered," I said. She nodded. I tried not to. The silence between us was louder than any argument. "I didn't mean to find you," I said softly. "I didn't plan this. But you came anyway." I looked away, because I never stopped feeling like I owed you a real choice. Her voice cracked. "I hated you." "I know. And I loved you when I wasn't supposed to." That made me look up. She was crying. Tears, real, raw, uncontrolled. The kind she never let fall in the story. "I didn't know how to live here without hating you again," she whispered. "But now that you're here, I don't know how to pretend I don't miss you." The stars blinked above us like they remembered too. And in that moment, nothing was written. Nothing was forced. Nothing was fiction. Just two people who had suffered through a story not of their making. And now we stood at the edge of a new chapter, one neither of us knew how to write. Yet, we didn't kiss, we didn't touch. We just stood there on that hill, side by side, as if moving would shatter the fragile spell between us. "I want to start over," I finally whispered. Liana wiped her cheeks with the back of her hand. "We can't undo what happened. We weren't ourselves." She gave me a long look. But the pain was real. "I know," I said, barely breathing. "That's why I want to make it right." She turned her head, as if struggling with 1,000 unsaid things. "There's something I haven't told you." "What is it?" She hesitated, then spoke in a voice barely audible. "I didn't just wake up here." I blinked. "What do you mean?" She met my eyes, and I saw it, the same haunted look I carried for months. I wasn't from this world either, Aiden. Not originally. My chest tightened. I was an aspiring actress. In another life. I got into a car accident on my way to my first lead role. When I opened my eyes, I was in that novel. Playing her. I stepped back, stunned. You were reborn into the character? I asked. She nodded slowly. At first, I thought it was just a dream. Then I realized I was stuck, just like you, trapped in someone else's story. My heart pounded louder than the wind on the hill. I thought I was the only one, I muttered. So did I, she said, but that's not the worst part. I looked at her, bracing myself. I wasn't the first woman to play her, she said. I saw the journals. What journals? She pulled out a folded yellowed page from her coat pocket. It looked old, almost ancient. I found these in a hidden drawer in Ethan Lancaster's mansion, she explained. They belonged to the first Liana, or whoever came before me. I took the page and read the faded handwriting. They keep placing us into the story, again and again. Different faces, same script, the cruel husband, the tragic death, the savior. It never ends. I don't know how many versions came before me, but I won't survive another. I stared at the paper like it was a death sentence. This was all a cycle? I whispered. Liana nodded. We were puppets in a repeating tragedy. Inserted, rewritten, erased. Every time one version failed, they reset the story. Who's they? She looked down. I don't know, but someone, or something, is writing our lives. My blood ran cold. We weren't just characters once. We were part of an experiment. But then something clicked. If it's a cycle, then why are we here? Why are we free? Her voice cracked. Because someone broke the pattern. And slowly it dawned on me. I did. When I deviated from the script. When I refused to be cruel. When I fell in love with her. I changed the ending. And maybe that broke the loop. But if that was true, then something darker was still out there. And they wouldn't just let us walk away. We thought the truth would set us free. Instead, it invited something worse. It started with a flicker. Streetlights dimming as we walked back from the hilltop. One by one, like falling stars. Liana noticed it too. She gripped my hand tighter, her breath shallow. Aiden, do you feel that? The air shifted, heavy, pressurized, like the world was bracing for something. Then came the sound, a low hum, like pages flipping rapidly in a closed room. And then, shadows. They weren't cast by any light. They moved on their own. Shapes, human, but not. They stepped out from the spaces between buildings, from alleys, from reflections. Faceless, wordless, just watching. Liana's voice trembled. They found us. I pulled her behind me instinctively. What are they? I think, she said, voice cracking, they're editors. I turned to her. Editors? She nodded, pale. They fix broken stories, eliminate errors, close loops. And suddenly, I understood. We weren't a mistake. They were here to erase us because we broke free. I faced the shadows. I won't go back. One stepped forward. Its voice wasn't spoken. It echoed inside my skull. The story must continue. The roles must be played. Liana stepped beside me, defiant. Not this time. The figure tilted its head. You were written to suffer. Your pain feeds the plot. No, I snarled. Our choices rewrote the ending. Then the story dies. And that's when they surged. I grabbed Liana's hand and ran. We darted through back streets, alleys, past flickering lamps and silent cars. The world blurred around us, colors bleeding like wet ink. They weren't chasing us with footsteps. They were reforming reality around us. Pages closing, Scenes ending. We burst into a subway station. Only it wasn't ours. It was the mansion hallway. Dark. Familiar. We were back. Damn it! I slammed my fist against the wall. They're pulling us in! Liana stared at the grand chandelier above, trembling. They're rewriting everything. Then her knees buckled. I caught her, panicked. Liana, what's happening? She gasped, gripping her chest. They're pulling me first. I'm the heart of the story. I was always the heroine. Number no. Stay with me. She looked up, eyes glassy. Don't let them erase me. I held her tight. Then write something new. She blinked. And in that moment, she understood. With her last strength, she whispered, Tell them what they don't expect. I stood, faced the faceless editor, and said the one thing no script would allow. I was the villain, but I loved her anyway. I changed. The air cracked. The shadows twitched. That is not your arc. I stepped forward. It is now. I kissed her forehead as the world shook. I reject your ending. The room glitched. Lights shattered. Walls rewrote themselves mid-air. And just like that, everything went white. When I opened my eyes, everything was still. No humming, no glitches, no mansion walls or shadows, just sky and her. Liana lay beside me in a meadow bathed in soft morning light. Her eyes fluttered open slowly, and for a terrifying moment I wasn't sure if she'd remember. Then she smiled. Faint, disoriented, but real. You're still here, she whispered. I exhaled a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. I never left. We sat in silence for a while, letting the warmth of the sun wrap around us. There were no crowds, no cameras, no scenes to act, no cruel husband or tragic heroine. Just us, free. Eventually, we walked, hand in hand, through streets that looked familiar, yet untouched. Nothing glitched, no shadows followed. It felt like a reset, but not a rewrite. This world, we realized, was new, untouched by any story. We weren't in the book anymore, not even in the real world we thought we returned to. Something in the rebellion, the defiance of the arc, had shattered the boundary between story and self. We had rewritten the final page. Together. Still, questions haunted us. Who wrote the original story? Why were we trapped for 6 years? Were there others, still playing out roles, still unaware? But in the weeks that followed, we stopped looking for answers. Because for the first time, we weren't surviving someone else's plot. We were building our own. Liana started painting. She said color helped her breathe. I found a little bookstore on the edge of town and took over as the owner. No bestsellers, no tragic romances, just quiet pages and dusty corners. We never spoke of Ethan Lancaster again, or the cruel mansion, or the glass bowls of untouched soup. But on some nights, I'd find her sitting on the roof, staring at the stars. And I knew. Some part of her still feared it would all reset. That one day the pages would flip again. That she'd wake up in that dark room with the script beside her bed. So one night I climbed up beside her. And without saying a word, I reached into my coat pocket and handed her something. A key. She looked at me, confused. What's this? To the shop, I said softly. If I ever vanish again, it's yours. Everything. It's my anchor. Maybe now it can be yours too. Her eyes shimmered with tears, but she nodded. I didn't promise that we'd be safe forever. I couldn't. But I did promise this. If the pages flipped again, if the shadows returned, if someone tried to rewrite us, I would find her, in any world, any story, any lifetime, because I remembered. And so did she. And that, memory, choice, love, was stronger than any author's pen. Months passed. We healed. And then, one ordinary Tuesday, a letter arrived at the bookstore. No name, no stamp, just an elegant seal in gold. My heart stalled. Liana sat across the table, opening it slowly. Inside was a blank page. Then, as we watched, words bled into it like invisible ink awakening. You deviated. You broke the loop. You cannot be rewritten. But others still suffer. The story never ends, unless you end it for everyone. There was a map, a list of names, coordinates. Liana's hands trembled. She looked up at me. And for the first time in months, I saw the girl who once defied fate with nothing but a heartbeat and a stubborn will to live. "We weren't the only ones," she whispered. "No," I said, gripping her hand, "but maybe we can be the last." We didn't burn the letter. We didn't hide it. We packed our bags, locked the shop, left the key under the mat, just in case. And together, we stepped beyond the borders of our story, into something unwritten. Because sometimes the only way to escape the plot is to burn the book completely. The end, or maybe just the beginning.